It should be working, right? Can you hear me? Okay. Robbie helped me troubleshoot, and I think the video being in this frame helps. My fan is on though. Can you hear my fan? That might be kind of loud. I'm like trying to shield the mic. Is the fan too loud or it's okay? I'll try to really talk in the mic. I bet I could turn the fan like down to 2 or something like that. Hey everybody, I thought I would do a live stream. It's been pretty difficult, and you know, I say this in like all my streams now. My internet has been down because of like storms in my area. And I just got this to work. I know you left like 2 hours ago. Well, I think you got sunburned from your hat.
Sounds about right. Take a shower.
Okay. Did you have a nice time at skate?
It's hot. It's hard.
Shogunai.
Huh? What did you say?
It can't be helped.
Oh yeah. No, it's frustrating. But you know I still enjoy it. I love you.
Love you. John was just skateboarding. I like set up to do this live stream right when he left, and I've had so much trouble like troubleshooting and stuff to just get this to work. I like know I need a new internet provider, but I'm just like, why can't my internet just work well all the time? But now I'm like, did it go out? No, it seems to be working, right? But yeah, I know I haven't been online in like the last week or like 2 weeks, and I'm really just like, I don't know, I'm really just working through the feelings of being online and stuff right now. I feel like I've dedicated so much of my time recently to like being online and being in the know that I've really sacrificed like any sort of personal enrichment that I might do. And I keep having this conversation with myself that like I am my best person when I can read a book, eat well, have water, go to sleep early. If I'm just online like all of the time, I'm half a person, you know? But it's really difficult to pull away from the computer and social media in order to personally enrich yourself. It's really tough. I keep having these conversations with a variety of friends, and I'm grateful to have friends that like are online just like me, like Valonius, and then I have friends who check in their Instagram like once a week. Like, can you imagine that kind of like this will come from? But to them, it's just another day, check on what the homies are doing. It's definitely really interesting. I felt that. I've been trying to read a book for months. Yeah, exactly. I've been trying to read. This is gonna get a little philosophical, and I say that slow because I'm worried that I can't pronounce like my own native language anymore. So here's kind of like what I've been going through. And so this is my idea. If the internet and social media, and imagine this description involves your peers, so people you know, you're friends with, your mutuals, you know, maybe social media influencers that are kind of in your spectrum. Everybody's in this current, like a water current, a river current. not like current events, but like a pushing, flowing current. So everybody's in the current because we're all on social media and we're all kind of saying the same things. We're all becoming educated on the same things almost at the same time. Like when a video gets posted or a celebrity does something fucked up or a brand new trend or Quibi, we're all in the know at the same time because we're all flowing in the same current. You know what I mean? So we're all exchanging the same information. And I'm really interested in the information like on the shore, like on the side of the river, the beach, I don't know. So I feel like, is the stream good? Okay. I'm so scared. I feel like I've lost touch with things outside of the current. And that doesn't make sense because the word current means right now. But in this like dialogue I have with myself, I'm so involved in the current that I lack, like, I don't want to know anything that everyone else isn't all like learning at the same time almost. Like, what was it? So I have been off of Twitter in a way, like in a disciplined way, like I deleted it from my phone. So I'm just using Twitter on desktop, which is really good because I was having a hard time sleeping and I was having really, really, really vivid dreams. And they weren't all nightmares, but they were so vivid that normally I can like recall my dream for like an hour after I wake up. But these were so vivid that I felt like I could like sell them to like a movie studio. Like I really, really lived them. So I took Twitter off my phone because I'm on it at night until I go to sleep. And I didn't want to do that because I didn't want to step out of the current. So I avoided doing it for a while, even though I understood that Twitter was something I was being overexposed to. And I also don't want to miss anything. And I know it's like FOMO, fear of missing out. But, you know, my friends are on there as well. I don't want to miss anything. But I was having these really vivid dreams, hard time falling asleep. So I took Twitter off of my phone. And I feel like in that, I was really scared to do that. But as that happened, I felt, I don't know, like a little bit more able to like decide what information I take in. So we were watching Philip DeFranco, which is a news show on YouTube, and they were talking about like Nick Cannon, and he said some like crazy shit on his podcast. That's a pretty big oversimplification, but if I would have been on Twitter, I would be able to tell you everything that Nick Cannon said, because that's something that would pique my interest because it's pop culture. So I would have looked into it in this like immense depth. But also, if you ask me about Nick Cannon, I would say I don't care. Wildin' Out, Mariah Carey. But honestly, as an individual, I don't care about Nick Cannon. But I do care about knowing everything everybody else knows at the same time. You know what I mean? Can anyone describe that better? I paused my join and Newsome to watch you. This is why community is so important. Social media is an echo chamber. It suppresses topics that are already slightly unpopular and makes it hard to appreciate different points of view. Being in the loop. Today's climate is insane. It's almost like a news event and wanting to stay in the know. Being afraid of saying the wrong thing. Yeah, I tried to describe this to John, but it's difficult because the example of Nick Cannon, he said, why would you care? And it could be anybody, but it's the fact that everybody is learning about it all at the same time, and I want to learn about it too. But then as the news cycle progresses, it doesn't even really matter, you know what I mean? So, Nick Cannon was dropped by Viacom, etc., etc. That's all industry news that I'm excited about because, like I said, I'm interested in pop culture, but it really doesn't affect me at all. But as I'm describing it now, I don't feel like I missed out on the Nick Cannon story. It's almost like it just washed right past me. It's a lot of water references. There's like a heat wave in Philadelphia. I'm like, man, I really wish I was swimming in the river. Since so much isn't reported on the radio and TV news, I feel nervous about not getting the details that only Twitter seems to have. Yes, Sebi, yes. That's the thing. Like, so much happens on Twitter, and it happens really fast. And I enjoy... I like, need to know all that stuff. But there's so much stuff in that effort, don't know. And that's the stuff that exists outside of the current. Like, books that aren't necessarily popular right now, aren't like on the bestseller list or whatever, books from like last year or years before, music that isn't current, actual current music that isn't like top hits right now. Like, there's almost no way to access that stuff when you're in this stream that I'm speaking of, this current. So I've become like hyper focused on this idea that there's so much information outside of the stream that we're all in every single day, and we all log on and access, you know what I mean? Let's see. And it's not only FOMO, Dre says, it's almost like I almost feel ignorant not knowing about current events. I feel the same. I spend hours watching interviews with celebs I barely care for. It's just a way to get caught up in the mundane. Naya Riviera entangled me. I never watched Glee, but I was hooked. Yeah, me too. Sorry, I feel like I missed one thing in the chat and now I'm like behind. The biggest question is, do you really want to know? If it wasn't for people judging you for not knowing the latest, would you really care? I would say it's definitely not. Maybe it is a little bit that. I do subscribe to the idea that it is a privilege to not need to be diligent on checking the news because it doesn't affect you. And I do believe that, and that really, I think, intensifies my need to consume peer-to-peer media. But I also believe that being on social media for too long can have side effects. So it is confusing, and it's hard, I guess, because someone said it earlier, the media doesn't report everything, so I trust peer-to-peer news much more, and I consume 100% of my peer-to-peer news through social, you know? Sometimes it isn't news, sometimes it's like gossip. Yeah. I think you need to just limit the use of social media. Yeah, this isn't like a desperate plea, but almost like kind of just what I've been thinking about lately. Dirty Soy says, right now is such a strange time because there's a lot of really important things to keep up on, but there's a lot more bullshit that keeps us scrolling. So I've been calling it, I think I already said this, but I've been calling it overexposure. Almost like you could be overexposed to the sun and get a sunburn, etc., etc. Overexposed to the wind and get like a windburn. I just wondered about being overexposed to the media, social media, and time spent on our phone in the current and not on the outside. It makes the present so super valuable that I wonder like what's being lost. And like, this sounds self-serving, but it's an example. Like, I'm pretty into Bjork, etc., etc. But the more I get into Bjork, which is a singer-songwriter from the 80s and 90s and current, I like to look up old interviews that she was in. And I'm reading her biography right now, which was published in 2001. And my instinct is like, this is out of date. But it's still consumable media, you know? So it's really this strange feeling that I had to find this book because it's not current. You know what I mean? And obviously, most books aren't current. But a lot of the bookstores I go into, and I went to Barnes & Noble yesterday, they narrow down the selection to kind of just like a collection because I guess that's what's profitable for them, obviously, and that's what people want to consume. So then I had to order this book special because it's a specialty book, and I have to hope that someone just has it in their warehouse. And it's an interesting phenomenon to me, and it makes sense that Barnes & Noble would carry current and bestsellers, etc., etc., but I don't know. If she was a more current artist, it would be easier for me to obtain this stuff, and I'm lucky that she's mainstream. You know, what if she wasn't? Reading the chat here. Definitely seems like people having too much time on their hands is part of the problem lately. I have mixed feelings about that. I swear, I never actually fully consume people's IG stories until the past couple months. I want to stay educated, but I feel like it can drown me. Hey, Qcknd, love you, but what are you actually saying? Overexposure to media? I would say overexposure in the context that I'm using almost is like being exposed. I feel like can be a vulnerability, and overexposure I feel like has the meaning of like, I relate it to like a sunburn almost. Like you're spending too much time doing something that it's actually hurting you. That's what I mean by overexposure. More often that we all do, it's important to take a break, step back, unplug, and exist. All the news will still be there when you come back to it. The media is high-key twisted, though. Like, why haven't news platforms spoken openly about current child trafficking? I went to a Wawa, kind of in the sticks the other day, and there was a poster on the community bulletin board. Wawa is a convenience store, like 7-Eleven. There was a poster on the bulletin board about sex trafficking and like what you should know and like look out for, and stuck right in the middle of the child trafficking poster with room around, stuck right in the middle, a pin, was army recruitment phone numbers that you could pull so you could call for the army recruitment. I thought it was twisted. Overexposure to media and Twitter honestly kind of made me ADD. I can't read books like I used to. Yeah, I'm glad you said that, because that's how I feel too. Having like all of my systems are kind of like reward based, and they never really were. Almost like I went jogging today for the first time in like 5 years, you know. The running shoes I got the last time I was gonna get fit, still fit, put those on. I'm working on a video about it, and all of my videos right now are kind of focused around self-discipline and like self-improvement, because I haven't prioritized any of those things for a while. And that's why at the top of this stream I talked about personal enrichment, because how valuable am I to the movement and to these systems if I personally am not enriching myself, you know? But I'm battling with that because it does feel selfish. So I went on a jog today, and I covered this in the video because it seemed like such an interesting phenomenon, but my mind, so I'm jogging, my mind gave out way before my body did. It was so interesting to me. Like, you're running, whatever, and I'm out of shape and haven't ran in a long time, you know. You would think that like your lungs or your legs would give out first, but my mind was so understimulated by this act of jogging that I knew I had more stamina, physical stamina, but just like I couldn't go anymore. I was just like, this is lame, you know? Any discussion on white exhaustion is selfish. So this is more like a discussion on mental health. This isn't like I'm really sorry if you're listening to this right now and you feel like this is like a white lady who's talking about, yeah, this is a discussion on mental health. I know it probably seems like a drag because I'm a white person. I'm really sorry. I really worried about maybe that coming across, but yeah, I'm really sorry if like this isn't like, I understand, and one of the biggest problems I have with taking myself out of the news cycle is that I do feel like it's a privilege to be able to step away. I think the news story that had me delete Twitter was a video of a woman being sexually harassed by police officers, and I didn't really want to see that because it's pretty upsetting, but that is when I felt like I can't contribute to the conversations anymore if I'm like so mentally exhausted, you know? And I think that burnout is really, really true, and I hope that this conversation that I'm having with you guys, like, I hope it doesn't seem that way. Like, and I'm sorry if it does. I hope that me sincerely saying that this isn't like a white person throwing in the flag, like, oh, I'm done with all of this. Like, that's not it at all. I'm someone on social media who is 100% involved in everything going on, and I just think that if I become a shell of a person because I am not taking care of myself mentally and not having these deep conversations with myself, that I don't think I will be helpful for much longer. So I'm just trying to evaluate where I am mentally, and I hope I can have a stimulating conversation that can help other people think critically about their own personal enrichment, so then they can further themselves and put more gasoline in their system to keep, fighting the good fight. So that's, I kind of thought that might come up, so I do want to say that is like where I'm at with that. But hey, I'm totally here for any kind of discussion. I just genuinely wanted to clear up the tone. Yeah. So, anyway, I just saw that in the chat and I thought I would address it early, because, yeah, I mean, I think that if you keep consuming media that you can no longer hold yourself up to, then, yeah, I think you're hurting yourself. And that's something I had to practically scream at myself, because I know that I'm running on empty. And I probably stayed on Twitter for 2 more weeks longer than I should have. And I've been, I'll call my friend Valonius, like, all the time. And every time I hear myself repeat, like, I saw this thing on Twitter that fucked me up. So, yeah, I think if you're like me and you felt like you did have some sort of like white privilege or any privilege to just sign off, that's hard. That's really, really hard. And it's especially hard to, have your arm pulled both ways. Like, your friends are telling you, I took a break from Twitter and it helped me. And you're like, but if I miss one thing, then I'm not an ally, But, like I said, and I guess I was dancing around it, but I just think that if I don't enrich myself, then I can't help. So, back to jogging. And the talk of like Twitter ADD and stuff. So I'm jogging, and my mental capacity gave out way earlier than my physical. My physical stamina, like, I'm not great. I get a little, winded going up the stairs. And I had another live stream earlier this year where I said, like, I'm out of shape. And that's why I was worried maybe about potential COVID stuff, because I'm just, like, not in my peak physical shape. And I was home this weekend, and my grandfather made a comment about my weight. And you guys probably know me, like, I don't give a shit about that. But I just, like, I didn't like the way it felt. Like, I don't know, like, suddenly I just didn't like it. I've already been on, like, this fitness journey for the last, like, 2 weeks, but I just, like, didn't like that. So I'm running, and, someone else, I read it in the chat, like, I was running, and yeah, my mind was just completely over it. So in Philadelphia, they've closed down some big public roads so people can jog and bicycle on them and stuff and social distance. So there's a couple roads in Philadelphia that are completely closed down, which is, like, really fun. And I'm like, wow, this is a great opportunity for me to take advantage of this. my neighbor said that it might last until October. So I was like, all right, get it in, girl. So I'm on this big public road, and I'm like, okay, now I'm like stuck on this road in like the middle of nowhere because I jogged for 5 minutes, and my mind was just bored. It was really interesting. A lot of the things I do to keep my mental health in check revolve around doing activities with a community of people. Yoga, rock climbing, not as fun by yourself. I need social interacting. Oh my god. Me too. I was in this yoga network, and my friends and I would ride our bikes to a coffee shop and all this stuff. So I really don't have that. And I had I wasn't exercising with a lot of intention, but my life was active. And that was fine for me. So I just thought it was pretty interesting that I went out to do a jog, did 5 minutes of it, and my body was like, that was enough. Let's go do something else now. Here's a serotonin. Go do something else now. My body was very much like, you did the thing, you are rewarded. But I was like, well, the thing isn't very complete. And my body was like, no, we've done enough. I've seen enough. It was really interesting. Were you listening to music or a podcast? I thought because it was my first jog, I should be in it. I think that I would be able to listen to music because it's this big public street. There was a lot of people riding bikes, but still public enough. I was interested in also listening to maybe my inner monologue or my inner I was invested in what my thoughts would be while doing this jog. And yeah, if I was getting bored, it seems like a podcast or something like that would probably be good. There's some audiobooks I have on my wish list, but I haven't downloaded Audible yet. I've been doing mini workouts while playing Animal Crossing. I love it. Well, 5 minutes is still something. Yeah, I asked some friends for advice before I started running, and a lot of them said, start slow. But one of these, big open roads isn't, close to my house. So once I got to it to start running, I was like, maybe I'll just keep running so I don't have to walk that long. I'm telling I was genuinely bored, which was unfortunate to me. I was disappointed in myself for being bored while I was doing this thing that should have been so rewarding and I don't know. Homemade Soup says it's wild how easily we can feel understimulated now. I can't even eat without watching or listening to something. Yeah, I've noticed that too. And I wanted to start reading or studying in the morning with my coffee. And I was at the bookstore yesterday, so I got some books. And this morning, I still put on YouTube with my coffee. And I was like, I'll do it tomorrow. But it was really interesting. I need to do that to just eat. And I think some of it's also the company, but I also watch TV while I eat dinner, and I'll let my dinner get cold to just find something good to watch. Luckily I'm watching Boku no Hero, and there's hundreds of episodes of that, but I'm just reading the chat here. don't expect it to love it right off the bat. It takes practice. There's a Hello Kitty All Might plush at Hot Topic right now. I started an Audible subscription last week. I guess that's what I'm going to do. Because there's a couple audiobooks I am interested in. And I guess if I run now. Have you done yoga at home much? So I haven't done like any yoga at home, really, but my one friend, we're all in this like yoga, like friends doing yoga network, and if any of your friends do yoga, I encourage you to reach out to them. So my one friend, we had him over for John's like birthday get together. He's handy, and there's this yoga studio where he, like, if they need anything, like the heater checked up, a light bulb changed, whatever, I mean, I'm sure they're capable of changing the light bulb, but if they need any handyman stuff, my friend started like volunteering to help them in exchange for free classes. So they said that I could help out too. So I'm really excited about that opportunity. But in Philadelphia, in Pennsylvania, gyms and yoga and stuff like that are still closed. So soon. Apple has a book app that also does audiobooks. Ooh. Yeah, I'm like, do I subscribe to Audible? I don't know about your library, but many libraries have great audiobooks you can download through the app. I recommend if you aren't planning to re-listen to audiobooks. Yeah, I got a library card last year. I know the books I have bookmarked are like some special Audible exclusive, which is kind of a drag. I feel like I read something about the death of whatever because of Audible exclusives, but use Libby. I'll see if the books I want are anywhere else, because you know I'd rather. But yeah, that's kind of like where my mind has been lately, and you saw it in real time. Like, it is a huge point of conflict in my mind and against the world, and even though I know my own intentions, it can still be really tough to kind of unplug. And I also feel a lot of conflictions because I feel like I should personally be in the loop because I'm like on social media and social media influencer or what have you. But yeah, I mean, my brain is so fried and I'm just so sad all the time and I'm so overwhelmed. I just like, I don't know. I'm just like so overwhelmed and so overstimulated that it really takes like basically nothing to make me start crying. And that's something that I really need to like take a step back and like look at and be like, well, what the fuck, bitch? Like, all the time you're crying? And like, I'll cry through stuff and like just keep talking. And I'm like, I was never like this before. Support your library, not Audible. Yes, I would love to. If the book is an Audible exclusive, I'll just throw it in the trash. Recently, when I read, I have to go back and reread over and over again. So instead, I switched to reading the Scott Pilgrim comics because they keep my attention longer and it really helps. Yeah, to read, I have to put aside time. And my biggest confliction is that I can be using that time to do something else. And I think that's very mean-spirited. And I wish my brain would almost like unlearn this behavior. But I keep telling myself like, I don't have time to read because I should be working on videos. or I don't have time to read because I should be jogging, or I don't have time to read because I should be working out, or I should be doing chores. Like, I really prioritize so many other things, but the things I prioritize aren't necessarily bad. Like, they're just all other things that I put more merit into. Like, the other day I wanted to read, but I hadn't vacuumed for like 2 weeks, and I was like, well, I should really vacuum. So, yeah, it's almost like I know that like reading would be that personal enrichment, because I say a lot, like a lot of the media I consume is written conversationally, it's written imperfectly without like a big focus on grammar, etc., etc. Like, I call this like conversational writing style. And even like BuzzFeed News and Vice, they both also write their articles conversationally as well. And, you know, I'm not completely against all of that. I think it's fun and easy to digest, and I feel like it's written in a common language that we can all understand and consume, which I like, because when things are written in a way that's like too educationally jargony, I don't like it. It turns me off. I think it's unnecessary. But it is nice to take a break and read a book that is written with the intention of being educational, even if that is reading a word you don't see every day, or, you know, just taking a step into some vocabulary that you might not be introduced to all the time. And I'm not reading like, you know, textbooks. Like, I'm reading like Snoopy comics, but like, it's nice to, you know, read fiction or read language that's written by an author, because I do spend so much time reading like conversational English. Shane Dawson's books are written like that. Yeah, those are in my basement. De-intellectualize consuming information. I'm on both sides of the spectrum there. Because I feel like I do want to I have a hard time reading like academic stuff for sure, and I'm like, damn, I'm so dumb. But then I also do spend a lot of time like, you know, reading tweets that are written conversationally, and because I spend more time reading that stuff and less time reading like academic stuff, I'd love to like meet in the middle and enjoy reading again, because I'm not exposed to that anymore. I think that's a bad point, because so much information out there is garbage and misleading. I don't know the context of that. I have to read academic crap for work. Yeah, it's tough. I think the first time I read that like highly academic stuff is just like inclusive and it keeps people out, I remember feeling like really great. I was like, yes, I knew that this was written aggressively. Please start a book club. I had an anime club until COVID. Not that it ever met before, but I had the lessons written out and stuff. Clockwork Orange language though, oh my god, like I think Clockwork Orange is like on my shelf with the bookmark in it, because I was like, nope. I really think like, no, I think I honestly put it away. Write a book, I'd buy it. I wrote a couple pages for my first zine the other day and I felt really good about it. I'm gonna talk about Twitter more. So I don't know if you guys noticed this, or if this is something I should look more into. But my intellectual dude bro brother loves A Clockwork Orange. My copy of Clockwork Orange is also sitting with a bookmark in it. I'm crying. So one thing that I deal with a lot, and when I talk to other people, they deal with it too. And it's like chatter in my mind. So if I'm doing the dishes, or if I'm in the shower, if I'm doing anything like slightly idle, okay, I guess I'll talk about this. I'm hearing a bunch of people talk all the time. And I feel like it's almost the same sensation as scrolling up Twitter and just reading all of the tweets consecutively, like one tweet every 5 seconds, and just scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and reading the comments. And I'm not thinking, the way I consume it is it just like splashes over my face. I'm like splashing it over myself, but my mind isn't like really digesting this stuff. I'm not thinking critically about every tweet I see. You know, some of them are funny, some of them are sad, some of them fuck with my head, and I just keep going and going and going and going. Later, if I'm like doing the dishes or folding the laundry, when I'm having this quiet time, I hear chatter, almost like the same thing as me mumbling through these tweets. This like scrolling through the tweets really fast, kind of like, oh, I've only got 5 minutes, I'm on the bus. Later, I hear that like chatter, and it's not even anything. It's just like just bullshit. It's not even my ideas. Sometimes it's like not even my voice. It's almost like song lyrics and tweets and just all this stuff going on, and it's driving me crazy. But I kind of thought it was normal because there's the show Scrubs, and the main character JD says that he has this deafening inner monologue, and I'm like, oh, me too. But JD's inner monologue is about himself and his environment and the things he interacts with. My inner monologue is about like alligators and Nick Carter and all this shit. And I'm like, what? What is going on here? I have to say that although without intention, this chatter has really, really, really chilled out. And it's like a blessing. I'm not describing schizophrenia. The voices aren't, they're not voices. It's almost like being at a coffee shop. It's just like background noise, but I hear it all the time. Like it's not voices with intention. It's really just like, you know, before a show and everybody's talking and you can kind of like hear some stuff, but it's not your voice and it's not what you would talk about. Do you meditate? I found that it helped me with how much my mind races and I'm able to separate myself from my thoughts. It's very liberating. I asked my yoga teacher about meditating because I told him in November that like I was kind of losing my grips with reality, and he said that he meditated for a little while. This is a bobby pin. He said that he was meditating with like an app and it helped him with mindfulness. But I was worried that I couldn't even have that opportunity to have that quiet time with myself. So I really, like, I've known for a while that that chatter was kind of just a side effect of scrolling through Twitter all the time, but I just, like, didn't know how to stop. And like I said, there's so many things stacked against me staying involved and staying in the loop, and the Twitter is how I do that. But yeah, like I've been like painting my bike, and since I'm just by myself, it's like someone else having a conversation in my backyard that I'm listening to. Yeah, like constant bullshit thoughts. Have you tried staring at walls? Oh, baby. Let me read. Sorry, I had to check the chat for a second. I was really talking for a second there. There's like constant noise and you just want to chill out and wash the goddamn dishes while it's static. Yes, static is such a great way to describe it, because it's just like, although it's my mind making these sounds, it's really, the only way to describe it is like a conversation I can't quite hear. Like someone else is having it. That's kind of how IG stories was for me. Bro, when I'm trying to sleep, I used to think about real things. Now I just hear TikToks on repeat. That's what I mean. That's what it is. It's like something else. It's not even, it's like this thing. So I feel like I unconsciously can consume social media and consciously consume it with intention. And I can do these things one at a time, simultaneously. I can scroll through Twitter until I find something that I'm like, oh, this is something I should know, or this is something I should look into, or this is something about Bjork. But the rest of the time, it's just like, is this a cake? Blah, blah, blah. So I'm like consciously and unconsciously consuming it, and I feel like that just like, although sometimes it's that unconscious consumption, it like comes back later. Almost as like a memory. Like, well, remember this from earlier? But I'm doing dishes, I don't quite remember it. I get what you mean, but I also don't know how to articulate it. Yeah, I'm trying my best up here, but well, I don't know. We literally do not know the effects of unlimited stimulation and oversaturation. It's important to remove yourself from it. This happens with me with music all the time. Like, I have my own iPod in my brain. Me too. And sometimes if it's like an anime theme song, like it's in another language, so I don't understand it, but the melody is still stuck in my head, it's like a nightmare. I'm like, oh my god. Like, the intro to Paranoia Agent is like one of the best bops on earth, but obviously I don't know how to sing it, and when that gets stuck in my head, it's almost like torture. Maybe journaling can help too, like getting those thoughts out, no matter how random, maybe exhaust that thought so it doesn't come back. Twitter is really weird because there's really important news mixed with bullshit memes, and it can be very jarring. Tokyo Ghoul theme song. Whew. My boyfriend doesn't have a smartphone, and I swear he's the most well-adjusted person I know. Me playing Me Without You albums at work. Journaling fucks. I love journaling. So I will say, I had this conversation with my friend yesterday, that because there's so much static, I like describing it as that, or chatter. I've actually been able to revisit my zine because I don't have all that chatter. So I think this is good. The only social media my boyfriend has is Reddit, and I low-key think that's hot. Oh my god. Hello, I've never been one of your live streams before. This is very exciting. Welcome. Paranoia agent makes me want to kill myself. Oh my god. Oh no. Turn it off then. Does your family have a history of ADHD? My brother has it. Not to air him out. That's what's been going on in my mind. I have these conversations with like my friends, but I also feel happy to have them with you guys because I feel like I'm someone who also like watches live streams and YouTubers and stuff like that, so it's nice. It's really interesting to me because when I was younger, I think my brain had this rich tapestry of imaginative thoughts going on all the time, and now it's just top 10 anime openings of all time 24/7. You're not alone in this feeling. Have you ever heard of Hopalong? They're a Philly-based band. Yeah, I actually have a funny Hopalong story. So when I was 17, so 2007, I went to a Hopalong show at the record shop, and she painted all the girls sitting in the front. So since it was at a record shop, a couple people like sat cross-legged in the front, and then other people stood because it wasn't like a proper venue space, but it was a record shop where they could just at the end of the night push all the racks together and have space. So it was at the Hopalong show, and all the girls sitting, she came and painted their faces, and I thought it would be really fun. Like, I was so excited to be a part of that. And, you know, she painted some people with like a star on the cheek or like a kitty nose. And this was before smartphones and stuff. So after she painted my face, I didn't check on it. I didn't check to see what it looked like. I was just so like involved in the moment that I was like really excited. Like, it's almost if you've ever been to a show where they like have people on stage, or if anyone's ever picked you up to crowd surf, it's kind of a like very important moment. So when she picked me to paint my face, I was like, oh hell yeah. So there was this guy in town that I was like so into, and I would see him sometimes, but like it just like whatever. So I was at the Hopalong show, and I sat in the front, and I was with like the girls, and it didn't matter. When the show was over, everybody was like kind of talking, and since it was still like a record shop, there was like some people browsing and walking around. And I remember when I left, I ran into him, and I was like, hey, like, what's going on? Like, oh, did you see the show? Like, whatever. Like, she painted my face. And he was like, yeah, have you seen it? And she painted my face so crazy. Like, it wasn't like a cute thing at all. It was like stripes down my face, like back and forth, all this stuff. And I didn't know, because you're just sitting there and it just like kind of feels good. And nobody stopped me to be like, whoa, check your face. Oh my God, I was horrified when I got home. And I walked home too like that. I thought she was going to give me like, I don't know, like a kitty nose. But it was like very abstract, wild, humiliating. Oh my God. So when I listen to Hop Along, I think about that and how she did me so dirty. It was fun, but next time some indie artist volunteers to paint my face, I'll be like, maybe like a star, but that's it. 5 strokes only. No. That would ruin it for me totally. Yeah, so imagine like someone painted your face and you felt like you were the chosen one like all night, and then when you saw it in the mirror, it was just like frightening. I looked like pinhead. I don't trust indie girls. The show was fun, but then later when I got home and reflected on the fact that like I had been dancing and stuff looking like that, I was just like I did not go to her shows for a while. Why'd she do that? Like, she gave the first 3 girls, like, a cute design and then ran out of ideas and saw, like, a Van slip-on on the floor and was like, oh. My muse. No, I've just been listening to, like, Billie Eilish. I haven't been mortified in a while. I kind of miss it. Who's on your water glass? A pirate. A McDonald's pirate. Same, Billie Eilish slaps. Billie Eilish came to Philly last year, and the tickets were like, I don't know, like $400, and I was like, no. And now it's like 6 months into COVID, and I was like, I would spend $5,000 just to see Billie Eilish. I haven't watched YouTube in a bit, and I need to catch up on Qcknd's life. I don't know the tea anymore. There's not tea, and I also haven't been posting a lot lately. I called my friend Valonius earlier today. He's a YouTuber, and he said, like, in his vertical, in like his demographic, other YouTubers that are like him, a lot of people aren't posting. I saw that Jacksepticeye is taking a month off. Someone else I follow is taking time off. I forget who. Scott the Waz said he was taking time off. Why Do You Need an Angel? I missed it. Oh, it's this Boy Harsher song that I've been like really vibing. That and William Eyelash. On my Twitter, I posted the music video for it, and that's kind of the vibe. On @QuietCoolKid, if you want to click on that music video, that is the song. So I've been talking to Valonius, and he said, yeah, a lot of YouTubers in his vertical are also on breaks. So I think if you like view that in a communal sense, I don't know if it's burnout. It's also like what do you even get motivated for? Best Dressed, she's a YouTuber, does fashion, and she had a lookbook. And at the top of the lookbook, at the beginning of the lookbook, she said, I make fashion videos, except now fashion has become obsolete. And she's kidding, but she's also serious, so I thought that was pretty funny. I have a few fashion videos planned, and I like kind of drag my feet on them because I mean, my style has evolved since pandemic, and it is like an interesting style that I like. I'm taking a lot more risks physically because, like, what is there to lose? I don't know. However, it's really interesting. I think a lot of other YouTubers are kind of getting beaten down a little bit. I mean, we're in the middle of a global pandemic and national civil unrest, so, like, taking time off is pretty okay. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And in that sense, yes. My grandmom says this is a great time for me to make people happy. And that, you know, I'm devout to that. I think that that's really special. And that's what I subscribe to. But at the same time, you almost, like, don't know. Like, as a creative, you almost don't know what powers you sometimes. And I don't know, you know, sometimes I'll make a video because of a conversation I had with friends, or like a joke I heard, or just like, you know, street fashion that I was inspired by. Lately, I've kind of just been inspired by music, which is brilliant, of course, but in practice, it's kind of difficult. So now I've kind of shifted gears into making videos about self-improvement. However, I need to self-improve, you know? Like, I can make a video on tattoos because I'm well qualified to speak on them, but if I was teaching you how to fix your bike, I'd have to learn how to fix my bike to be an authority on someone who can teach you how to fix your bike. And there's no, like, what is it in YouTube when you try the makeup, like, blindly? First impressions. There's no, like, first impressions on self-improvement. So the videos I'm working on right now are just going to take a lot of time. I posted a video about Harriet the Spy, and I lost, like, 300 subscribers. I think they were like, alright, this bitch checked out. But there's no new tea. There's barely anything new at all. My avenues in which I'm inspired to create are very limited or like maxed at capacity. And now when I see my friends in like very, you know, safe ways, our time is like so precious and limited almost, and it's also very serious. Like, my friend, he came over the other day so I could do his hair, and we went to yoga together, we got coffee together all the time, and he's brilliant. Like, he's really involved. Sharing it on social media I think is too much, but he organized this weekly bike protest that is everyone's involved in. So when you see your friends now, it's very serious, and that like casualness of just running into friends or sitting together on the couch to watch a movie, like, that is a little bit absent in my life because everything is so like, get this done, let's not get COVID, and what are you doing, and I'm checking in, are you okay, and I have to go. I think some people want YouTubers to stay in a very specific box, and it's weird. What can you say about the BLM movement? I've seen you mention the death of George Floyd, but not BLM specifically. Someone touched on it earlier. I do worry about being like performative or like performative white allyship. I feel like maybe that can be tough because I feel like I've spoken on it, and I don't know. Obviously, it's really important, and it's a way I conduct myself every single day. I think Black Lives Matter, and I think it's really, really weird and uncomfortable. Like, I went to the flea market over the weekend, and there was a guy selling Trump flags, Trump 2020, and All Lives Matter gear. And that juxtaposition, it reminds me of like trolling almost, but it's also, to me it just like reads racist. I don't know. It's really weird. The counter to Black Lives Matter is really scary, and be it racist. So I hope you don't think that I support All Lives Matter, because that shit is really weird. I posted something on my Twitter like 2 weeks ago, and I actually had to put my Twitter on private because a bunch of these people, these like right-wing people, started to troll it. So somebody posted, like, you know, the Pepe the Frog, and people like right-wing people use it. It was like a video like those people, and they were making fun of the protester who was hit by a car and died. And it was like less than 24 hours after they passed away. And it was just so messed up. So the best way to get in touch with YouTube is on Twitter. So I posted a screenshot of the video, and I was like, this is messed up. You should take this down. And some of my subscribers saw it and agreed with me. And I don't know if there's like someone who subscribes to me or follows me on Twitter who showed the creator that I had posted that. But the creator found it, and his audience found my channel and my Instagram and my YouTube and my Twitter pretty quickly. I was able to delete most of their comments, but in context, obviously. But the weird thing was, although they were trolling me and they were happy the protester died, which is disgusting, which makes no sense. Like, it's really like, it's not all lives matter. And then the protester died and they shouldn't have been there. Like, I don't have to tell you guys this. So they were trolling my Twitter, but they kept using MAGA hashtags, which is just like, you almost want to, so you want to think that people who have this ideology, you want to think that something is wrong with them because that ideology is so inherently evil. And then you almost want to give them credit for being such big trolls, because all of them were using MAGA 2020 as a hashtag to troll me. And it's just like really scary that these people can organize to keep Trump elected, and they like know better. I don't know how to explain it. Because like I said, you would think, because you grant sympathy to somebody who's not informed, because in that being sympathetic, you can then grant them education. You know, you can tell them. A couple people messaged me and they were like, I'm having a hard time talking to my boyfriend about white privilege. And that is a conversation I feel a little versed in. And you can approach it sympathetically. You can be sympathetic towards your boyfriend for not understanding. And then you can explain things to them in a way that is sensitive to help them understand. And in that, you sympathize with them. You're like, okay, you don't understand white privilege, and I'm so sorry this happened to you, that you are in this position where you never understood that as a white person you are allotted these privileges. And there are ways that I explain that to people softly, and in that I say that it's sympathetic. However, at the same time, when someone refuses, you don't feel sympathy for them. You understand that it's deliberate and that they are deliberately having these opinions. And in that, it's dangerous, it's mean. Mean seems light. Evil seems harsh. But it just feels... You're almost like, what does Trump have to do with this protester? But when you're not like that, you're like, oh, these things are connected because this is just a bad person. Like, you know, it's really scary. So it wasn't something I wanted to make a big deal out of, because the best way to handle stuff like that is to just back off. And you don't win any wars, but I saved my Twitter, and I saved the energy of you guys who feel naturally inclined to defend me and, you know, your black friends and stuff like that by coming, you know, standing up to these people. And you can feel good about it, and you can feel versed, and it's a great way to exercise this dialogue that you may need to be better versed in, you know, if the opportunity in real life ever comes up where it's much more important, you know, a racist uncle, a Karen, whatever, at Macy. It's good to be quickly and well versed in that dialogue. So yeah, practice on some fucking idiot. But at the same time, also don't upset yourself or leave yourself vulnerable to these people online. So that's why I just deleted it and I made my account private for a few days. I did that for you guys and for myself, because I just can't interact with people like that. It is a boundary that I set for myself, and it's something that I need to stick to. So, you know, some, like, almost putting that on my Twitter was me crossing a line that I don't normally cross online, but it was just so fucked up, and for a second there I was just really, I just couldn't not, I just had to do something. But then what normally happens and why I don't do those things did happen, so I was like, oh, okay. Stupid. Going private was a good choice. It's hard to deal with a cascade of ill-intentioned people. Definitely. Dude, Facebook is such a toxic place, especially for older people, because they believe a lot of fake media and it gets shared around, and it's so frustrating. I've started seeing older white women wearing sheer masks as a way to revolt wearing masks. It shows how passionately they feel about their own freedom versus lives of others. We went to Walmart. We went to Walmart the other day, and there was a woman with 3 children and a pregnant belly, and it was all the mesh masks, like fishnet mesh masks. I couldn't believe it. She made them for her 3 children too. And I was like, of course, Walmart, like, when will you ever surprise me? I just couldn't believe the sheer masks, like fishnet masks. The Walmart we went to, where were we? We were in Bucks County. And that Walmart, to get into that Walmart, they only had one door open. A lot of the places in Philly have stopped doing that. They've stopped doing the, like, lineups and stuff. You just come in. There's no limits to the people anymore. This Walmart still had the one door, still had the limits to walk in. So someone let her in with the mesh mask. But what do you do? If I wouldn't fight a lady like that. If I worked there, I wouldn't fight a lady like that. at my coffee shop job, I used to fight with people. And now as a retired barista, I can't even believe I fought with anybody. I can't believe I ever fought with anybody. So I definitely sympathize with these retail workers. If you saw a lady with a mesh mask on her 3 kids and her own face with a pregnant belly, as a retail worker, I would just do this. I'd only be able to do this. It's stupid, but you feel bad for the kids. Like, yeah. I work at a grocery store in Texas, and they had to stop enforcing the mask policy because of hostile customers. Yeah. This is John's favorite story, so I'm sure I've told it before. I used to work in this big market. I feel like food channels always go to these markets when they're like touring other cities, like a big food market. You're probably familiar with what a big food market is like. So I used to work in this big open food market, and this building was like pretty old, so a lot of it was grandfathered in, and grandfathered in means if they make new rules, if you're a building that's older than the rules, then they'll just kind of let you keep flying, but all new buildings from now on must follow these new rules. So the building I used to work at didn't have an intercom or sprinkler system, but the building was 100 years old more. I can ask John how old it is. Because it was originally built as a station for Pennsylvania Railroad, like from monopoly boards, like Pennsylvania Railroad. So this open market was 100 years old, so it didn't have sprinklers or an intercom. So if there's a fire, you just shout fire. So at this big market, there was security that would walk around pretty regularly. And it would be security's job to tell, like, the booths or whatever, oh, there's a fire. And then we would walk outside. So we got an alarm that there was a fire. The pizza place inside had a nice big brick oven for, like, good pizza. And that caught on fire. So the building was filling up with smoke and stuff. And security came to our booth to say, evacuate, there's a fire. So we grabbed our cash register, threw it in our safe, and like ran out to leave. Like, you just run out to leave. There's no things. You just run out to leave or die. Like, you die. It's like, so when we pulled the register, this lady was like, I was next in line. I was like, there's a fire. The building's on fire. She was like, but I waited for 10 minutes. So this lady's instinct, like, what? Oh, okay, I'll make one more latte. What? So we evacuated, obviously. And, like, I felt like shit. My purse was still inside. I was like, okay, cool, I guess. Hold on. Sorry, I touched my eye. So, yeah. So I was outside so nervous because, like, my purse was still inside. And I was like, oh my god, I'm never going to be able to replace my cell phone. Whatever. We looked inside and people were still in line at our coffee shop. Still in line. And this, I probably shouldn't say this. One of the women in line was a regular. And she was running for a government position in Philadelphia. And she stayed in line during the fire. I was like, I will never vote for you. You're a psycho. You're a psycho. Everyone should know what you did here today. You didn't evacuate because you were third next in line. I was like, customer service is the bane of my existence. I'm like, LOL, that happened to me too. The fire alarm started going on to evacuate, coming from the mall speakers, and the lady closing said, "Why, ma'am, do you not hear the alarm?" Like, are they desperate for coffee? Oh my god. John! I don't know where he is. And that's one of like 10 million stories from that building. I had one guy, it was like 2 months before I was fired, so I was toasted by then. I had one guy threaten to hit me, and he showed me the back of his hand, and I jumped over the counter to freak out on him, just lose my mind. And the like nice quiet girl that I worked with, like English was her second language, and she like never wanted any trouble, kind of thing. She like grabbed me and was like, "Sir, it's time to go." And then when security came, I was like, he showed me the back of his hand. I felt so stupid. Nothing happened to him. But I snapped. I snapped. But because I think like I fully snapped out of like retail, if I worked at the fucking Walmart with the lady with the mesh on all her kids, I would just let them in. Go ahead. Go in. I don't own this Walmart. I don't own anything. Go on in. I had my first panic attack working in a department store, so there's that. When I worked at McDonald's, one of my honest fears was that my boss would just randomly call me and tell me I was fired, and I thought that it was paranoia, and that I was just experiencing paranoia, and then I was randomly fired. Although, feeling like that sucks. How is John doing with all the quarantine COVID things? How is he managing work, if you don't mind me asking? So he is a carpenter, so he went back to work pretty quickly. The 6 weeks he was furloughed, he did a lot of work on his parents' house. They are seniors. So he, I think he poured some concrete, like fixed some cracks in the foundation in their basement and stuff. He patched our roof for like a full day, which was crazy. And then he went back to work. He said that kind of how he works, like a group of people can come in and then leave, and then he can come in. So like a plumber can come in and work on the job and then leave, and then he can come in and continue his job and leave, and then the electrician can come. So it can be socially distant. And he recently switched companies this year. So now he has, I don't think it's his assistant, but now John has risen in company. So now he manages the job sites, which is so hot. So now he has someone who works just right alongside him. I guess that used to be his previous position. So it's just him and that guy together all the time. So, you know, if that guy ever gets sick, or John ever gets sick, but I think just because they work together. And then that guy lives with his parents who are elderly, so that guy takes all this really serious. So I think they don't wear masks together. Or they do, I don't know. But so he went back to work really, really soon. And then for fun, he just like skateboards. And I guess you can do that. Sometimes a lot of people are around and it is like heavy breathing, but the people he skates with are also like pretty like in the bubble. Like his one friend that he skates with, his girlfriend works at a grocery store, and they've had 3 scares and they both get tested, and all times it's been negative. So his friends are at least cool about it, which is like all I could ask for. But yeah, he's skating so much, he's like fucking shredded. I'm like, don't stand close to me. Get away from me. Not to be a bitch, but where's Ethan? He's downstairs. I'm like looking for him. Ethan's that guy. I just told him yesterday that he's like 5 years old. Whatever happened to that shell you guys were looking at a few years ago? Have you considered working on another house? It's funny, someone just DM'd me about this, and I was like, oh my god, were you gonna buy that house? So we actually walked past it the other day. We did this like very long walk. So we looked at a shell, I think last year or 2 years ago, and a shell is a house with nothing inside, but the facade of the house is intact and the property it sits on. And that happens a lot in Philadelphia because the houses are built into each other. They're all kind of connected. But if a house is dilapidated, not kept up with and stuff, so much of it is still attached to the other 2 houses that generally just like the inside will, I don't know, collapse in on itself, or it won't be maintained, stuff like that. There's like an abandoned house on our block that just has a tree growing through it. But when you look at it from the street, you're like, oh, that's a house. So we looked at a show, but John said that the quality of life for us would change if we moved over there, because I don't know if I showed it very well, but it was a block, and all the houses on the block were demolished except one house stayed. And there's a lot of programs in cities where if you live in like one house and the lots are abandoned, you can buy the lots for really cheap. So we were kind of thinking, well, John ultimately made this choice, and he said the quality of life for me would be pretty hard because no one is around. And we also couldn't guarantee the lots. So if somebody, like a developer, because we have that problem in our neighborhood, like developers from other states will buy property in our neighborhood, and then just leave it turn to shit. So because we had that experience, we were worried that whoever bought the lots next to the house could develop like a 5-story apartment next door. And what would we do, you know? So there was just like a lot of loose ends, and there was like a quality of life issue because of that. So we just decided, but it's funny, the guy kept contacting John and like lowering the price, and then John actually didn't like that because he lowered the price significantly, and John was like, oh, Papa, what are you doing? John's fixing the shower. Gentrification. Oh. It's kind of a double-edged sword, because if the blight was taken care of and gotten rid of and encouraged property prices increasing / gentrification and the hurts to the community. Yeah, it's tough. It's an opportunity for us because we can afford it, because John can do all of the work. So we can look at these houses that are collapsing and stuff like that because John can fix them, whereas most people would just demolish them and start over. You know. Are you gonna paint your amazing clawfoot tub? I remember seeing a photo. I want to. But it's original, so I feel like, you know what I mean? Sometimes you're like, oh, well, like, should I spruce it up? So it's 8 o'clock. How long have we been on stream? I like to do it for 2 hours. Okay, we're only at an hour and a half. So I was bouncing over previous conversation. Comment, not saying that you buying property is encouraging gentrification. No, I didn't think that. Sorry, there's cat hair on my face. What about that mural in your backyard? So I get to start it this week. Philly is in a heat wave, but like whatever. But we had a really hard time buying paint. A lot of the hardware stores have been closed in Philadelphia, so I think everyone's just going to like one to buy paint. So we left the city and bought some paint, so I'm eager to start it. I was able to get a sponsorship for that video, but communicating has been really difficult, so that as well has been slowing the progress on that video, which is upsetting, but great that come September there's going to be a lot of content on my channel. If you haven't had dinner, you need to soon. I wonder who's cooking tonight. Are you still learning how to use Celsius? Yes, I am. I switched my phone to Celsius and military time to jazz things up a bit, but I'm still figuring it out. Celsius gang. I want to live in Celsius. Like, I know there's a conversion, but I just want to live enough in it to like understand it naturally. To just look and know what 30 degrees feels like. Doesn't feel good. Laughs in Canadian. Yeah, let me tell you what temperature it is now. Right now it's 31. And it says unhealthy air quality for sensitive groups. Ooh, it's gonna rain at 23. I gotta bring my bike in. Sponsored ad Celsius. Yeah, that's whenever I say a temperature, people are just like, oh, that's hot. Yeah, 31 for 8 o'clock is hot. That's why I have the fan running in here. Normally, I would feel bad. This is my back office too, and the way the house is built, this room is kind of like off of the house. So the rest of the house stays really cold and is like really nice and well insulated, but this room is like off of the house. My brother spent the night this weekend, which was a joy. But he's like a teenage boy, so he wanted to sleep in my office. And I told him, like, you just can't sleep back here. You have to sleep on the couch in the living room. And I don't think he enjoyed that. But he had his privacy. Like, we went to bed at, like, 11. So he had the house to himself. And our couch pulls out into a bed. And it's a lot of fun, frankly. I don't know if he has his own TV in his room at my parents' house. So he got to have the smart TV. My brother is just getting into anime, which is so exciting. He watches it in English, but it's cool. He came over and he's a picky eater because he's young, and I made him ramen. There's this Japanese supermarket in Philadelphia called Maido. If you go to my Instagram, the picture of me with Totoro has a geotag. You can click on it. It's in Ardmore. So it's a Japanese supermarket, and I went there and they had this ramen that just said like animal free on it. So I was like, I'll take that. So I was like, oh, how about I make us ramen? And he was like, how did you get authentic Japanese ramen? I was like, yes, I am cool. I am cool. My brother's 17. How are you wearing a long sleeve flannel when it's 31? This is like a like paper. It's not a flannel. It's like a dad's shirt. It's like a jammies shirt. Central air is a blessing. Yes. We have a window unit. It's fine, but... You still driving? I want to buy a car this year. I have huge plans. If it wasn't the pandemic, I'm scared to like spend like more than $70. Yeah, my grandma really wants me to buy a car this year, but I just told her that I was gonna wait until the pandemic was over, because times are crazy. I want to get a car so I can go on a road trip. And I asked my friend yesterday, my friend and I got drunk in the park. I asked him, would you ever go camping by yourself? How do you guys feel? Would you ever go camping by yourself? Just you. In a tent. I'll let you discuss. The control isn't fair because you guys are all me. But I also said no. If I want to die mysteriously. So I thought a road trip would be so cool. And instead of staying at hotels, I would stay at campgrounds and have a little tent. But I would also be murdered. I can't even sleep in my house. Cursed. Cursed. Jeremiah, hey, I'm getting my first tattoo in a couple days. Do you have any advice? Trust your gut. Have a meal. Thank your tattoo artist. And enjoy the experience. Getting a tattoo doesn't have to be scary, but it is something that you should take seriously. A serious, not scary. And tip, yes. Bring your mask, if you're in the States. Campgrounds are also oddly expensive. Like, it's hard to find, at least when we drove to MD to Texas. Yeah, I've only had this idea for like 10 hours, but I watch all of these like tiny house people and like road trip people, and they all stay on campgrounds, and it seems really cool. But if it's not a way to save money, see, why am I like, I'm like, camping by yourself is obviously dangerous, but then I'm like, but staying at like a cheesy motel alone is like the same danger? Like, I'm like, I don't know. I would camp alone with my dog. Yeah, I would do that too. Please don't hitchhike. How long have you been growing your hair? I actually cut it 2 nights ago. You can't really tell, but it's fresh at the bottom. Thanks, Jeremiah. Best of luck. Definitely tell us what you're getting done. At least people at a motel would hear you scream, but they would also know I was alone. I wonder if these are like only American thoughts. Ooh, my neighbor's out. She's always out with curlers. Both ideas give me potential horror movie vibes. Yeah, like, why can't I just go bro out? Like, that's all I'm asking. Camping is definitely cheaper than motels. $10 to $30 a night, depending on the campsite. Oh, I forgot you live in the States. Wouldn't camp alone. Tips for trimming your own shag. So one of the easiest things you can do is pull all of your hair, like section out your ears. Pull all of this hair straight up and then cut it. And then pull the next piece straight up and cut it until you pull all of your hair straight up and cut it. And then you take your front and a little piece from the back and pull it all straight up and cut it. And then when it's not perfect, it's punk. Carry an unregistered gun and smoke cigars and no one will mess with you. You know what I was thinking the other day? At the beginning of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, they find that girl hitchhiking, and she just like pulls a gun out of her uterus. I'm like, where was that? Where was that? I don't think that was in there. I don't think it was in there. But I watched that movie when I was like 13 and I was like, oh. Local campsites are definitely cheaper, but KOA parks are always regulated in price. What is KOA? Oh, I'm getting a bumblebee with some sprigs of lavender on my forearm. I love bees. Oh, some advice I can give you. When I got my bumblebee tattoo, we forgot the stinger. So decide if you want a stinger or not. KOA is a chain. Camp Across America. Prison Pocket. So when I was young, my neighbors took me camping with them. I'm very inexperienced camping. I've only been twice. So my neighbors took me camping with them, and it was this amazing campground. And I remember there was like a pool, and you had to take like a swimming test in order to be in the pool, and the lifeguard was like probably 15, but I was like, wow, that's such a cool job, I want to be him. And I passed the swimming test and I was like, oh my god, I'm like a turtle. And they give you, I don't know, like a sticker or something that you're allowed to swim in the pool now. And I was like, oh, that's like a kid's dream. So the campground was like all spread out and you could walk to everything. And I don't remember their dad like ever being with us. And there was like public showers, and then there was like a common room, and they played Space Jam on VHS. It's the first time I saw Space Jam. There was like a general store and like a arcade, but it was so cool. Nah, that's not camping, but wait. Okay, that light's just gonna be on a second. So that campground obviously like made the bar super high for me for like what campgrounds are like, and obviously I was a kid, so it was like romantic. But there was like a big lake with like inflatable rafts and all this stuff. And then we would go back to like just like a clearing, and it was surrounded by trees all around, and there was a clearing, and it was just like a parking spot, and that's where you would set up your tent. And it was so cool. I loved it. So I'm just imagining like I drive on a road trip and I have a personal tent, and I go to these campgrounds and I'm able to shower and do laundry and then just like sleep in my little parking spot, and then the next day like be out. But I would camp on a campground, hopefully near children, so I would feel safe. Let me read the chat here. Chain camping, I hate it here. Oh my god. If I could, I would camp with you. Yeah, it would be nice if, like, as I go through these states, I could just hit people up. I think the Dresden Dolls do that. When I camped with my friends, I would bring my own one-person tent like it was a Qcknd. Then we would all hotbox their big tent, and it was good times. Oh. I just bought the same Sonic poster for my room, and that's on decor. Get a Chevy Express Van 6. I want a Scion XA. And I want to take it to Houston, Texas to get a giant anime decal on it. I just don't know how safe it would be to do that, because it seems so idyllic. Like, that's what I would love to do. Like, do it in September when it starts to get a little chilly. Oh, that just seems so nice to me. The only other time we ever went camping, if you guys watch my fashion video, my like fashion, describing my fashion video timeline, I said when I was like 17, I was dating this punk kid who was in college, and there was no parental intervention, that like that wasn't okay. So one weekend, this is such a sad story. One weekend, he was going camping with all of his friends and invited me as his girlfriend. And I was like, I think I'm going to be bored. Can I bring one of my friends? And he was like, okay. So we borrowed his parents' big truck because he had a race car. And I had just got my driver's license, so he let me drive it. And we almost got in an accident on the turnpike, and I had to slam on my brakes. And, like, when I think of times I almost died, that's one of them. But at the time, I was like, eh. So we went to, like, a national park to camp, and we met up with all of his friends there. So he paid for me to camp there as my boyfriend. And then I paid for my friend to camp because she was broke. And then we also had to pay, like, one of the friends for all of our, like, food. So, like, they were like, throw in $20 and we'll go grocery shopping for everybody. And I remember they just got, like, chili and a pot. And that's, like, all we had to eat the whole time. And I was like, chili sucks and this is lame. And I know I sounded like a brat, but, like, why would you bring your 17-year-old girlfriend around all your college friends? Like... So I personally had such a bad time camping with them that I actually asked him to drive me home the next day. And we broke up in the car outside of my house. And then his car wouldn't start, and my brother's dad had to go out and give him a jump. And I feel really bad about it. And that's the only other time I've ever been camping. Ha ha ha. Oh, never mind. Oh. A nightmare. I remember that was the night he was also going to try to like take our relationship to the next level, and I was so disgusted. So in his defense, I may have been 17, but he did never commit a crime. Damn, that story sounds like such a terrible experience. Jeez. Yeah, years later, when I went to community college, I saw him there, and I felt so sad that I tried to link back up with him. And he was very good about being like, fuck no. Which was good for me, too, because I was only attracted to him because I was so overwhelmed with how bad I felt. Because to like this day, I've only broken up with like 2 boys. And that was one of them. More X-Files. He sounds disgusting. Yeah, it's like, it was like a very truly like Daisy Buchanan story. When I was punk and I would hang out at the teen center, he was always there, and he was so tall and handsome, and he was dating the first girl who I ever saw with baby bangs, because it was before the internet. And then I guess they broke up, and when I was 17 and stunting, I ran into him and like was brave enough to be like, oh my god, when we were younger, I had like such a crush on you. And I guess he was like, I'm single right now. And I was like, oh shit, that's cool. And he would pick me up from school, disgusting, and I would do my homework at his parents' kitchen table, and his parents were so into me. They were like, oh my god, she does her homework and she has a job, and I felt like $1 million there. His parents liked me so much, and that had never happened before, because I don't know, when you're young, you like don't meet your boyfriend's parents, or your boyfriend is like, I don't know, a disappointment, so you meet in secret behind Acme and hold hands. So they would let us have house parties at his house, and they would like go like somewhere else as like a courtesy. So like it was almost like a prime like dating someone situation. But yeah, he was always like, I don't know, trying to do boyfriend stuff, and I was like, ew, yuck. But there's so much shit from my teen years that I look back and I'm like, that was weird shit. Yeah, I would have never thought that was weird, because I worked at a call center with only hot girls, so the fact that my college boyfriend had a race car meant that I was hot shit. I was cool as hell. And he was handsome, and I had a crush on him when I was younger, so I felt like I had really lucked out. And then I read The Great Gatsby, and I was like, oh, no. This happens to a lot of people. And then when I saw him at college, I was like, wait, he's still kind of cute. He leaves the house to let him party. My Latino family could never. That's because they'd want to stay and party too, though. His family was like, okay, everybody, don't get into too much trouble now. Which is fake. Loving the X-Files vibe, low-key content that brought me to you. I've dated some trash men, but I like feel bad for them, which empowers me. What's your zodiac sign? Aries. I was just telling my friend yesterday about this other overage guy that I dated when I was also in my teens, who we would, oh my god, I guess I should probably save this for an X-Files, because it's like my whole life. But So when I lived in Doylestown, I would walk everywhere. I would walk to McDonald's where I worked. I would walk to school. And if I had work after school, would walk from school to McDonald's. They're all not very far, but I don't think kids these days would do it. So I used to walk all the time. And there was this guy, the same guy from the Hop Along show, who said that my face paint was horrendous. There was this guy, and sometimes he would play like guitar in the street for like, I don't know, like money in his hat or whatever. And he would do shows at the record shop, but you know, just some people would come, really indie stuff. So I would walk around all the time, and one time he talked to me, and he was like, I see you around. And when you tell a freaky 16-year-old with the weirdest fashion sense who just shaved her head and discovered what being ugly felt like, when you, cool, plays guitar in the street, approach this girl and say, I've seen you. To be seen, to be witnessed, the first time ever in my life to be witnessed, I couldn't believe it. I fell in love instantly. He could have said less. I see you. Ugh. Then I found out he was like 22, so I asked him to buy me beer. But also, he had brown hair. Oh my god. He'd smell good. Like, wore cologne, but like, not Phoenix spray. Axe body spray. Like, something different, like basil. I don't know. Sage. So one time we were at a playground because he was a pervert. I'm kidding. Sorry. But we were. And he was telling me that he was having a party at his apartment that night. And I was like, oh my god, you have an apartment? So he was telling me he had a party in his apartment. And we had already gone up there to like make out, so I knew where it was. And it was before smartphones and whatever. So when I went home that night, and it was the summer, and, you know, during the summer I would just like stay up all the time or like sneak out of my house and just like lay in a field. Like, I don't know, I was like overly tragic to myself. It was just like 10 o'clock at night. I was like, oh, I think I'll go to his party. And there was like no, it wasn't social media, it wasn't smartphone. So there was no like, should I stop by your party? Like, I just was like, oh, that would be so nice to see him. So I remember I walked up to like the third story of his apartment and knocked on the door. And when he opened the door, he was so horrified to see me. And I remember that horror, seeing me there, was so upsetting. I didn't really realize until feminism how, like, he must have maybe known better. I like to think maybe he didn't, but years later, when I realized, obviously I was attracted to this older man who was a musician, that was kind of out of my control. It was up to him to not let that happen. Years later, I understood why he was so horrified. But at the time, I was like, am I not cool enough to like come to your musician party? Is Hop Along in there? He did walk me to the playground to tell me he would make time for me later. But I just told this story to someone yesterday about how I went to the party, like, unbeknownst to me that I was a minor. Girls like when you smell like basil taking notes. It's just like earthy. I see you around is so weirdly hot when you're younger. Oh my god, I know. Just seeing me, like, you have seen me. I'm not invisible. I swore I was. Sorry, let me read the chat. I love to feel bad for exes. Yeah, it makes me strong. It makes my legs strong. My eyes getting blurry. Oh no, my time has come. Being a teenager is so weird. Yeah. Qcknd, what is this story? Just my dowry. My verbal dowry. This whole story reminds me of high school. I feel so personally attacked. Well, my friend explained it to me yesterday. Like, if you're at your school and you're like an alternative person or whatever, you're not attractive to the people around you, and the people around you aren't attracted to you. And then it's like, who else is around besides people who already graduated? Let's see if my... I doubt it. Both of my, like, light batteries are dead. So the stream is, like, suddenly lower quality. Let's check. But the weirdest part about that story is that guy died. He's dead now. And not to be real, but I was like, do I go to his funeral? Like, I was in love. I didn't go. Today is weird because now, so it makes it less alt. Yeah, you really just gotta figure out what your freak flag is and fly it. What the hell? That took a dark turn. Yeah, it did. I feel my life consistently stays so crazy like that. My stream freezes when he goes, yeah, he died. Is the stream back to normal? Because I can keep going. Oh, it ended? I hope it comes back. I'll do the chat for like 10 more minutes. Okay, people are saying it's back. People are saying it ended. People are... Give me a mini dryer if it's back. Your camera was shocked by the story. Are you by any chance using a Dell computer from 1994? People are saying it's back to normal. Good. Oh, wait. Oh, no. Good? Oh, no. Good for me. We chillin'. Still up. Normal again. Okay. We are at 2 hours, so I'll tell one more story before we go, I guess. People are saying it's down. Okay. Now it says the stream is good. Okay. Back. That's so great. You guys are great. Thank you so much. Well, I guess I'll save some X talk for the next live stream. Let me know when you guys would like to see me live again. You can always nudge me on social. Obviously, I'm on my quest for enlightenment right now. But in the meantime, I'd love to keep doing lives and stuff. My friend is switching to Twitch right now, so I'm kind of like in his shadow a little bit about how that process will go. I have considered a Twitch show that I really like the idea of. It could be really cool. So if you guys like these lives, that would be obviously in the future. I would continue to do lives on YouTube to just chat with you guys because I love you guys so much. Thank you for receiving me. If you would like these lives, I'd love to host them and have them on my channel. They always get posted to my channel afterwards, so if you missed any part of this live stream, it will be up in a few hours for you guys to rewatch. We covered some heavy stuff here, so I'm glad to, you know, be received with an open mind. The discussions were great, and I feel good. I feel a lot better. It's really nice to talk to you guys. Like I said, I've been able to talk to some friends here and there, but it's still as difficult as ever to meet up with your friends and stuff. In your hazmat suits and what have you. So while I am working on my videos that are mostly focused on self-improvement, obviously I must self-improve. So those videos are slow to come, but I'm excited for them, and your support means everything. Thank you, Jeremiah, for the super chats. That was awesome, and I hope your tattoo of a bumblebee and lavender sprig goes super well. And thank you guys, of course, for having me. You look really sad, but I'm glad you're feeling better. Sometimes when I'm just having these crazy thoughts, it's really nice to just like rough them out with people, you know? Almost like how comedians will do their bits at like a shitty bar before they create a comedy special. But yeah, it's been super fun, and I thank you guys so much for having me and staying on my channel. I know a lot of people have unsubscribed lately, which, like, you know, there's a time in my life where I'd take that really personally and I'd feel really stressed out about it, but now, you know, I'm here for you guys. So I feel good that something like that I can look at and just be cool with. That's personal growth to me.